Hello, everybody, and welcome to another one of my mindful conversations where I have these empowering women on because we share the same message. And you know that I believe that when we together can share the same message of empowerment and loving who you are, the stronger we are. So today I have Anne, and I always like to go out and see who's sharing that same message. And I've been watching Anne on Instagram, and she has that same message I do. Love who you are, you know, hear the fear, but do not give it power. Harness that power you have inside, overcome the fear, and, change that mindset, as in shifting it to a positive one and not letting all these comparisons, really bring us down. So, Anne, I want to thank you for coming on to my podcast and sharing your message and having this beautiful unscripted conversations that we're going to have today. So hello, welcome, Anne,
Thank you.
and I'm happy you're here today. So,
Thank you.
I usually do, I shouldn't say usually, I sometimes do an introduction and, yourself being from the health and wellness industry, also making a shift from, I'll say, a corporate world before pharmaceutical world. And, you listened to your voice and said, you know what, there's something else my gut is telling me and I need to listen to it, and because it's stronger and I need to step away from what I'm doing. And again, that fear, that stepping out of the comfort zone is leaving this, this job that I'm very secure in and just stepping outside and saying, okay, no, listening to my gut, not letting your fear stop you. So, going forth with that, and can you let our audience know today a little bit about yourself and your story? What brought you
Yeah.
here?
Well, you framed it very nicely. I worked in the pharmaceutical world for 25 years, but the last, I don't know, probably 5 years at least of that,
Yeah.
there was a nagging feeling inside me. So I feel I always describe it as from the outside, I had all the boxes ticked,
Mhm.
great salary, great job, dot, 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 dot. But inside there was just this intense withering, if you will. I was
Yeah.
just, there was something else I needed to do and I didn't know what it was. And so I hired a coach back in 2014, January. And I think I mentioned this to you when we spoke the one day, is
Yeah.
that January brought two surprise things. I hired a coach because I thought enough is enough. I need help. I need someone outside of me to help me get clear. And I blurted out at my annual financial chat with my husband, plan for me to be making 50% less in 2 years. And my husband looked at me like, what? And I'm like, I had to do something.
Yeah.
And that did set the ball rolling. And so fast forward, I worked with a coach for probably 9 or 10 months and got really clear on the things I wanted. It wasn't like, oh, I want to be a coach. It was just the things that I valued bubbled up more. And so I ended up making the decision to train to be a coach and made a kind of a 2 year plan and ended up leaving my organization and stepping into this
Yeah.
world that I'm in now. And it's been 5 years now.
Mhm.
So it's a little crazy, actually. It's crazy good. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the pharmaceutical kind of is the health industry, but on a different level.
Yeah.
And the fact that I've heard a lot of women that have had, I guess, in the corporate world and leave it, and that whether it was in the health industry or whether it was dealing with other people, but there was still, you're making a connection with health and making a connection with working with people, but I'm going to say on a more wholesome level, on a more wholeheartedly, of really feeling and listening to people and hearing what they're having a hard time expressing, and you being that voice for them and helping them through their own wellness and health journey.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, you talked about, your business is now thriving in a good way. And you mentioned, Anne, about, listening to what I was hearing inside and helping being steered in that way. So, going forth with that, and what helps you to continue to and live and thrive and have a passion for overall wellness and health and fitness and movement of the body and whole mindset.
What keeps me going is knowing that the value in it. So by doing, the movement and all the other pieces that contribute to my wellness. So meditation, journaling, surrounding myself with people that are good for me and my soul, that those are all elements that keep me focused on this. This is
Hmm.
why I do what I do, because it gives me purpose and meaning. And I know the proof is in the pudding, so to speak, right? Right? Living that way, when I don't adhere to all those different things that I know are important, that's when I notice that I don't feel as good.
Hmm.
So that's what keeps me going, is knowing and trusting that these habits that I've gotten into it, that I know they work. I know
Yeah.
yeah, they bring value to my life for sure.
There's three words that really struck a chord when you said it was about gratitude, about surrounding yourself around people that have that same message, right? And the reason I feel they struck out with me is because, again, fear stops us from getting out of our comfort zone. Fear stops us from releasing and walking away from those negative people, right? And gratitude, right? Like some people have a hard time with seeing small things as huge, grateful, gratitude things in our life. And it doesn't need to be complicated. It can be simple as I woke up today and lived another day, or I'm grateful for my body because I'm able to move in a
Mhm.
way that works for me. And, being grateful for having these positive and keeping positive people in my life, because those are huge fear factors, right? That you feel that you need to be around these people or have them in your life because for whatever reason, yet when you're around them, you feel really awful about yourself and you feel drained, right? So, I really want to touch base on that because it's something I talk about with clients and in the greater world overall. Is it can be really hard and fearful to release and let go of those negative people. But when we do it, we're so much become a stronger person. So what's the way that you, from your point of view, how you can release and get rid of, and I'm going to say true hearty, get rid of the negative people in your
Yeah.
life? Like, what allowed you to do that, Anne?
I have to say I've been lucky not to be surrounded too much by that. And I
Hmm.
think it is what I've decided I don't want to be around. So radiating positivity, and not giving attention
Yeah.
to some of that behavior. So a lot of what I do is about showing up how I want to be. So my intention, if my intention is to be positive, for
Hmm.
example, then people that want to hang out and be negative are not going to want to be around me,
Mm,
because I'm not giving attention to that behavior that they want me
nice.
to feed into. So it's one of those things that it's like, once you stop engaging in that,
Yeah.
people lose interest and they
Yeah.
sort of fall away, right? Because you're not
Nice.
giving them that reinforcement
Yeah.
of that behavior. And so that has been huge, as I move through this journey of life, is to recognize right out of the gate how I want to show up and trust that the ones that are meant to hang out with me,
Yeah.
they'll end up staying. The
Yeah.
ones that are like, she's no fun. She doesn't want to go down the rabbit hole with me. I
Yeah.
don't want it works out almost
Yeah.
organically, if you
Yeah. Yeah. I
will.
love that.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
for
having
sure.
self-value, right? It's that self-worthiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Nice.
say one kick at the can. So I want to be around people that feed me,
Hmm.
um, in all aspects,
Yeah.
and not people that bring me down, because I don't have time for that,
Yeah.
right? I just don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So that's
Exactly.
really useful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. There's so many hours in a day. Make the best of it.
Right.
Right? Make the
Right.
best of it. And you're right. If there are people that you tend to not add to their conversation, and eventually they're like they don't include you anymore, and it's like, yeah, because you couldn't get my other signals and that I'm giving you. So yeah, I'm not going to let whatever you think affect me. So yeah, that's wonderful advice. And that leads me into, I mean, it COVID-19 is going to be part of our lives, I feel, for a while. I don't think it's
Yeah.
done yet. I mean, we're 6 months into it. It came in March and we're now into September. Uh, and I could see, us this being part of our world for another year or two. So, and what is something that has gotten you through COVID so far and continues to allow you to go on this journey of life through COVID, and what keeps you positive? I mean, positive is sometimes an overused word, I'll say. I mean, we both, you and I, use it wholeheartedly in a very spiritual way, as in to uplift other people, uplift ourselves. And what helps you to, and advice you can offer others to keep on moving forward and see things in a positive light, or uplifting in a, release that stress.
I think for me, the first thing was, and it took a long time for me, was to stop resisting so that this is the reality. So for me, it was like, oh, 1 month in, 2 months in, 3 months. And then it was like, wait a second,
Yeah.
this isn't going anywhere anytime
No.
soon, to your point. So there was a lightness that happened when I realized, okay, stop fighting this.
Mm,
Um, you have to learn how to navigate. So the daily practices I described before are useful. Staying connected to people. So that connection looks different now, and I'm guessing
yeah.
you're experiencing the same thing. So sending a text to that friend, picking up the phone, doing these things that we're doing right now, getting on Zoom so I can see somebody's face,
Yeah.
and while the weather is still good, is doing a physically distant walk with somebody so
Mhm.
that you can, that connection as humans, that's in our DNA, to be
Yeah.
connected to each other.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that keeps me going, and that I recommend to others, is to find ways to connect, because that will feed you. You need to be connected to other people, and that will keep you going through this for
Yeah.
sure.
Nice, nice. So definitely I'm hearing, connect in a way to for your own soul, and connect to other people that you feel need to hear your voice.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, because sometimes, there are, I mean, everyone thinks this, right? Where, well, they haven't reached out for a while. I wonder why, I'm not going to reach out to them. Well, no, just do it, because, maybe they're just feeling at the lowest point of their life,
Hmm.
and they're having a struggle with asking for help. They're having a struggle with reaching out. So you taking that first step, hi, it's Anne. Just want you to know I'm here for you. I'm here to listen. I'm here to chat. I mean, as simple as that is, what I'm hearing that we need to do and not be
Yeah.
afraid to do.
Yeah. It's the bare bones, Tanya, really, is
Yeah.
just, because as you point out so eloquently, it's true that when someone's feeling at their lowest,
Hmm.
the last thing on their mind is, oh, I'm going to reach out to 5 friends and say hi.
Yeah.
Although if I'm having a crappy day, to be honest with you, if I can make myself text a few people, I know they're going to respond, right?
Yeah.
And so that it's a win-win, if you will. So
Hmm.
by me taking myself out of my comfort zone, not really feeling like saying hey, but doing it anyway, I get that back. And
Hmm.
so it's a great way to lift your spirits, if you will, when you're not feeling the greatest. So for
Yeah.
sure, it's a tactic I use regularly.
Yeah. And do you feel that, both you and I being kind of wellness advocates, right? That moving your body in a way that works for you, if you feel you can't do it every day, at least 3 times a day, do you feel too that helps uplift you and makes you feel overall better in the mindset and, how you see yourself as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fitness has been one of those things that, really, after I had my second child, I got really involved more in fitness.
Mhm.
And it was really for here versus
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
This is the benefit, right?
Yeah.
But I am pretty sure there's evidence I read that even 20 minutes of a walk will
Hmm.
change your frame of mind.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so the benefits are incredible. So
Yeah.
I can't say enough of that. And I have clients who may be sedentary, and I'll just encourage them to start with just walk for 10 minutes in
Yeah,
the morning.
exactly.
Um, get up, go take your stairs in your house, like especially now with people working from home.
Hmm.
Go circle your block on your lunch hour.
Yeah,
Do things that get the blood moving, because it does shift how you feel. You can't feel the same when you come back from moving yourself, because you're not the same. Things have been
yeah,
shifted and moved around in your body, right?
exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's that change of scenery. It's just stepping away. And I really love how you said it's a shift, because something that I often do is I'm just and people say, how do I do this? So you're doing something and nothing's working and you're getting more and more frustrated. So I say, stop what you're doing, go and move your body 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes. It's great if you can go outside. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, my head's clear and everything flows again, right? Yeah. So the benefits are limitless, I'll say, of moving your body in the way that works for you, right? So, and as we're slowly coming to a close with our conversation today, there's three questions I ask every guest. And, it's almost, I'll say it's my favorite part of the conversation, because we find a piece of Anne. Let's learn more
Yeah.
about Anne, right? So what is a quote and that you really, really love, and it seems to have always been a part of your life, whether it's, the last 6 months or whether it's been for years, but what's a quote you really, really live by and enjoy to read now and then?
So it's a quote by Ben Franklin, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Mm,
And um, it's one of those quotes that for me is, if that pops to my mind, if I'm doubting something, or that fear that creeps in anytime for all of us, not
yeah,
just me, when we want to make a change, I remind myself that if I don't take a chance or even one little step, I'm not gonna go anywhere. And
exactly.
so, yeah, so nothing ventured, nothing gained speaks to the part of me that is like, do this.
Yeah,
Because often it's the little gremlin in my head that says, give it too much thought, will stop me. So that one actually serves me really well. It makes me just
nice.
take action. Yeah.
Nice. I love
Yeah.
that, right? Because often the more we think about it, the more we hesitate, the more we do not go forth. So yeah, I always say, what's the worst can happen? You're told no. Well, that's at least you know the answer, right? Instead of the what if, should I? And as far as advice, what's the number one advice you can share with our listeners or audience today?
Um, trust yourself.
Mm,
There's so many of us, all of us, walk around all these voices in our head, that tell us we should do this, should do that. And I often have this conversation with clients with, when that voice comes in your head, make sure it's yours.
yeah.
It's fine to get input. That's all great. But at the end of the day, you're accountable for your
Mm,
choices. So
yeah.
trust yourself.
Nice.
And that's something I think we gain with wisdom as we move along through life. But do it sooner. Trust yourself sooner. Don't wait till you're
Nice.
older. Yeah.
Nice, right? Because ultimately, you're the only one that can be accountable for yourself. Yeah, others can um, help you along on that journey, I'll say, but ultimately you're the one that needs to make it happen, right? And it's that trust of your gut, your intuition, listen to it, because how many times have people said, oh, I should have listened to my gut, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
happens so, I mean, I've done it too, right? And yeah, it's like you said, it's baby steps. It's the continuing, right? It's like, okay, hold on here. Trust the gut because it hasn't failed me.
Right.
Right. So yeah, that's a big one. Trust with
Yeah.
capital letters. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And my last question, and you cannot include family as one of your answers. And if this was the last day of your life, what is something that you would be absolutely grateful for?
I gave this question some thought this morning, because I was like, how am I? And I went for a walk, and you know what popped? Someone was freedom. The
Ah,
freedom uh, to be born when I was born in this
mm,
world. To be a woman in Canada, I mean, I know that not everybody lives the same way I do, but the freedom to be able to express myself,
Yeah.
to do the things I want to do, um, it's a value that's really, really important to me. So, yeah, freedom pop this morning. So I'm going
Yeah.
with that. Freedom.
That's
Yeah.
interesting, right? Because sometimes I look at word association. So freedom and fear have almost all the same letters, right? And again, yeah, and again, it's the freedom to not allow fear to
Yeah.
stop your gut instinct, freedom of fear to make the choice of not allowing fear to stop you from moving forward and traveling on this journey of life, no matter how a roller coaster ride it may be.
Right.
So yeah, that's really interesting.
Mm. Well,
I always say, there's a reason why certain things pop out.
oh, for
And
sure. For
sometimes
sure.
it takes someone else kind of to look at it different ways, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, I didn't think about it." But yeah, freedom is because often we do not see that we do have, living in Canada, we do have freedom for so many things. Oftentimes people place too much focus on what they do not have or what they want and can't get, instead of focusing on, again, I think a huge part of that comes from mindset, focusing on what you do have, even loving what
Mhm.
you have and making the best of what you do have. And if you need to change that circumstance, then change it. Do not let the fear stop you. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
again, baby steps,
Yeah.
right? Baby steps.
Right? I mean, fear is just built into our DNA. I think we had this conversation before,
Yeah.
but just how our brain's wired,
Yeah.
you know, and it served our ancestors well. You don't want to get, a saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah.
It's dangerous, but our brain has just decided that anything that's out of the norm is equivalent to a saber-toothed tiger, which is nonsense. And to
Yeah.
your point, you take the baby steps, and
Mhm.
that quells that little fear monster because fear doesn't like action.
Yeah.
So it kind of quiets that down. Once you start taking those little baby steps, there's no turning back.
Yeah.
Because even if you turn back, you're different. You've
But,
taken that step. So,
mhm.
yeah.
Definitely. Definitely, right? It's like you said, making those daily habits become daily rituals. It becomes a part of your life. It's just like brushing your teeth, right? You
Mm,
just do it.
mm. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, thank you, Anne, for your time today and sharing this beautiful conversation and really, owning up to ourselves, being accountable, to having self-worth, and to just go for it and see
Mm,
what happens and enjoy the life journey and realize that, there's going to be times where you succeed, and there's going to be times where you hit the roadblock, but there's always a way around it, right? It's like the
mm.
mountain. Tough climb, but there's always a way around it too. Yeah. So thank you very much, and continue shining. And thank you to all listeners and being here and listening to another mindful conversation. And as always, before you go to bed tonight, think about the best thing that happened, because there's always a wonderful thing that has happened. And when you wake up, think about or write down 3 things that you are grateful for. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Love who you are and value who you are. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.